Then the chosen one appeared through the ether, Tony Blair, after John Major had become Prime Minister. The moment chosen one Blair came to lead the Labour Party, Murdoch's newspapers in this country switched to the Labour Party and Blair for the first time. And what happened to the Conservative Party? Internal conflict, mayhem, leaders that people didn't find credible, and leaders who the public were told not to find credible. What happened? 10 years of Blair. Despite lying blatantly, outrageously, grotesquely about going into Iraq. And despite all that, he got in, what, 3 times? Why were people saying, well, I don't like Blair, but look at the alternative? And now Gordon Brown's come in to replace Blair without a vote. Blair stepped down. What's happening to Brown now? A systematic demolition of him and his party is happening. Why? Because Cameron is designed to come in with his cohorts to take the Big Brother state on a bit further. Sorry, David Davis, you're going to have to live with it. Unless we decide we're not going to live with it, because the power is with us, not them, if we only took it. So the world seems very confusing. Let's see how they do it here. The world seems very confusing, a ball of confusion and what's going on. And the reason it seems like that is because we're denied, not least through the Quentin Letts of this world, we are denied the coordinates necessary to understand how the pieces fit. The coordinates are about where they want to take the world and the methods they use to take us there. Once we've got these coordinates, the world looks very different. This election looks very different. Coordinate 1. The goal is a centrally controlled global fascist dictatorship. This image can be found in this book, the first edition of which I wrote in 1994. Look at the world as it's emerged since in relation to that. Why do they want this structure? Any dictatorship must centralize power and must bring the decision-making process into the hands of fewer and fewer people. Because the more diversity of decision-making you have, the less control a center is going to have over those decisions. Diversity is the worst nightmare of the dictator. Uniformity is the means through which they do it. I mean, just look at the world from a built environment perspective. No matter where you go in the world, it all looks the same. This uniformity is emerging, even on that level. So what they want is a world government which would dictate all major policies to every country. They want a world central bank that would control the whole of global finance for every country. They want a world currency which would not in the end be physical cash, but electronic money only. And there are fundamental implications for freedom in that. We are hurtling towards the cashless society. Oh, it's a good thing. Yes. If it was done benignly, it might be, but it ain't. It's the outcome and the reason for the outcome we need to focus on, not the actual thing itself necessarily so much. Today, if you go into a shop or whatever and you hand over electronic money, a credit card, and they say, sorry, the computer won't accept your card, at least you can still say, oh, well, I'll pay cash then. What happens when there is no cash and that computer says, no way, Jose? You have no means of purchase. What does that mean? Total control. That's why it's there. They want a world army. And what I'm saying is all in these books from 15, nearly 20 years ago. a world army that would impose the will of the world government. I had a journalist said to me once, what would they want a world army for? There'd be no one to fight. I said, you're a journalist, aren't you? The people to fight would be any group, any nation that did not want to give over the total control of their lives to the decisions of the world government. And I say in these early books, watch for the development of a European army. This is what Sarkozy is suggesting now, the French leader. And watch for excuses being made for NATO troops to operate outside their official designated area of the North Atlantic. They're now in Afghanistan. And the idea is to fuse all that stuff with the UN peacekeeping force to create by stealth the world army. And they want a microchipped population connected to a global computer, and in the end, every child microchipped at birth as a matter of course. When I first said this 15, 20 years ago, people thought it was hilarious. Anyone who looks at what's happening in the world now has got the grin, as my mother used to say, on the other side of their face, because microchips are now being introduced and are being all the time encouraged for us to take them as a way of operating. They bring it in, first of all, through, microchip Fido, you'll never lose your dog again. And then microchip your child, you never lose your child again. Microchip yourself, you'll never lose yourself again. There you go. Under this, they want 4 superstates. The first one is the European Union, which is the most advanced, came out of the EEC, the Common Market, a free trade area, nothing to worry about. The American Union, which they are manipulating out of a free trade area called NAFTA, North American Free Trade Association. And the first step of that, and it's so close to becoming public, is something called the North American Union, Canada, Mexico and the United States, and they even have a name for the currency to replace the dollar. It's called the Amero. They want a Asia-Pacific Union, which they're now talking about, being evolved out of another free trade area. If it works, why change it? Called APEC, Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation. And we already now have an ever more active African Union, which came out of the Organization of African Unity. That's what they want. And where are we? Down here. Try getting power over your life sitting under that edifice of bureaucratic control. ID cards, stepping stone. This is what they want. Microchipped people. I was, by the way, I said on the internet I was going to talk for an hour and a half. I ain't. I hope that's all right with you.